Hey everyone, it's Wendy Pope. It's Read Through the Word, and it's November the 26th. I hope you're doing well today. This was an easy verse to go to speak on today, to bring our lesson from, because it is a common verse. There are so many people that have this verse on a shirt, on a ring, tattooed on their person, embossed in some type of cover for their Bible. It's one of those verses that just makes you feel good and you're like, oh yes, everything. Oh yes. But it's also one of those verses where my son used to say, and you may have heard me say this before about this verse and other verses when he was young, he would go, there's always a catch. And it seems that way sometimes with some of the greatest promises from God. It seems like there's a catch. And in a sense, there is a catch to this. And it's overlooked. The prerequisite to good is love. This verse doesn't promise that all things are good, which those that love God, and we're going to talk about loving God here in just a second, but those who love God should never expect for all things to be good. We don't get to define good. God does. And sometimes what God thinks is good is what we think is painful or suffering. And sometimes we must have affliction and we must have suffering in order to have our faith pure as gold, to come through something stronger than ever before. So many lessons and so many layers there in that statement, and I don't want to get lost in the weeds of all of that for today's lesson. But we don't get to define good. This verse also doesn't say all people will receive good. That's another thing that we just automatically assume, oh, well, I'm a child of God. I'm going to receive the good. Everything's going to work for my good because I am a Christian. I am a child of God. That's not what this says either. It's really important that we zero in on this prerequisite, and it is love. It is love, and it is love for God. And naturally, we're going to say, well, of course I love God. I go to church. I tithe most checks. And I'm there most Sundays, unless there's a football game or a golf tournament, or it's a really pretty day to be out on the lake, or I'm on vacation or whatever. I'm there most days, most Sundays. I even go to Bible study sometimes. Okay. So let's just cut to the chase and let's find out what this prerequisite for good really is. It is love. It's agapáō in the Greek. And it means this kind of love does what God prefers. This kind of love embraces God's will. And this kind of love obeys God's command through his power. I loved that part of the definition. And then this kind of love commits to the well-being of others, hold on now, regardless of cost or reciprocation. I'm going to do what God prefers. You can kind of go, okay. I'm going to rely on his strength to fulfill his commands. Okay. All right, I'm going to embrace God's will. Okay. But that last part of the meaning, and in fact, click that link there. That'll take you to where I'm talking about. I'm not making this stuff up. Commits to the well-being of others regardless of cost, and that doesn't necessarily mean money, or reciprocation. I'll just be honest with you, sometimes that's where I draw the line. I draw the line. It's not like, yeah, I don't want to be nice to that person. I don't want to look out for the well-being of that person. Or I looked out for the well-being of that person. Where's mine? You see what I'm saying? The natural flow of our deep and abiding love for God is this agapáō kind of love. It's not something that is onset immediately when we're saved. It is something, it is spirit developed within us over time and commitment to the study and the practicing of God's word. That's how you get to this place. It doesn't happen overnight. And the enemy wants us to, when we fail and we have the wrong attitude and we don't love this way, he wants to go, see, you can't. See, I told you. See? And that's when we have to silence the enemy. Again, I want to stay in the lane of this lesson. But there is good. All things will work together for good to those who meet the prerequisite, the criteria, and that is loving God and being called according to his purpose. And called according to his purpose embraces God's will. It's caught up in that definition there. So how you doing on this? I just confessed to myself. I just laid it out there. That last part of the definition trips me up. Because sometimes when I do good for somebody, I maybe don't want recognition for it. I'm a pretty behind the scenes kind of person. But I will say there's part of me that gets a little salty if it's not reciprocated. And that is certainly not of the kingdom. Y'all take care. We'll see you next time on Read Through the Word.